Hi everyone, this is Emmy, and someone has asked so nicely for me to do a video that a beginner would be able to follow to do the easy beginner flower. So here it is. So we're going to make this easy beginner flower, and we're going to do it slow enough for a beginner to be able to learn how to do it. Okay, I'm working with a 6.5mm crochet hook and worsted weight yarn. Worsted weight yarn is a 4-ply yarn. In crochet, you always start with a slip knot. To make a slip knot, just form a loop with the yarn and put the hook through the loop and grasp the end of the yarn and pull it through that loop, and then just pull to tighten. And then when you pull on not the yarn end, but the other part of the yarn, you'll tighten up your loop on your hook. Don't tighten it too tight because you're going to need to work in it. To begin to make this flower, we need to chain 5. To chain in crochet, you simply pick up the yarn on your hook and you pull it through. And that's a chain stitch, and it looks like a chain. So again, we pick up the yarn on the hook. That's called yarn over. Bring it through the stitch on the hook. Now we have 2 chains. Pick up the yarn with the hook, bring it through the stitch. We have 3 chains. Pick up the yarn, bring it through the stitch. We need 1 more. Pick up the yarn with the hook, bring it through the stitch. Now to make a flower, we're going to work in the round. So to work in the round, it means we have to join this stitch with this stitch. To do that, we simply put the hook through the stitch, yarn over, bring the yarn through that stitch and through the stitch on the hook. Now we have formed a ring, and we will be working into the ring to make the petals of the flower. To make the petals of the flower, we're going to chain 5. To chain, you pick up the yarn on the hook and bring it through. We do that 5 times. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is going to form our very first petal. To make it into a petal, we have to connect it to the ring. To connect it to the ring, we put the hook through the ring, pick up the yarn, and pull it through. We could just make a slip stitch, which is the same as we did to connect the chain into a ring, and it just means that we would pull the yarn through here. But now we're going to learn how to do a single crochet. So when you do a single crochet, you have the yarn over the hook that was originally there and the yarn that you just pulled through. You're just going to pick up the yarn again and pull it through both of those stitches. And what you have formed right here is a single crochet. So we have our chain 5 for the ring, and we slip stitch to join. We have chain 5 for this petal, and we single crocheted in the ring. Now we're going to chain 5 again to make the next petal. To chain, we simply pick up the yarn and pull it through the hook. We're going to do that 4 more times because we just did it once. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have chain 5. We have to connect it to the ring to form a petal. To connect it to the ring, place the hook through the ring, pick up the yarn, and bring it through. You now have 2 loops on your hook. Pick up the yarn and bring it through both loops. You have just made a single crochet. We now have 2 petals of the flower. We're going to repeat that 3 more times so that we have 5 petals in our flower. We're going to chain 5 times. Pick up the yarn, pull it through. 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 We have 5 chains. We're going to connect it to the center of the ring. Place the hook in the ring, pick up the yarn, and pull it through. Pick up the yarn, pull it through both loops to form a single crochet. We're going to make 2 more loops in our flower. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet in the ring. To single crochet, hook through, pick up the yarn, and bring it through. You now have 2 loops on the hook. Pick up the yarn and bring it through both. You've now made a single crochet. We now have 4 loops in our flower. We need 1 more. Going to chain 5. Pick up the yarn, bring it through, 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 pick up the yarn, bring it through. We now have to connect to the ring. We could just make another single crochet here, but let me show you. If we make a single crochet here, we're still not connected. So we'll make the single crochet, and then we will just slip stitch into the one of the stitches in that first chain, and the slip stitch means you bring it right through, and that just connects this petal to that petal. And now we've made our 5 loop flower. You can make this flower with 10 loops, 7 loops, 9 loops. It doesn't matter. As many loops, the more loops you put, the more full your flower will be. But that's how easy it is to make a beginner flower. Now you fasten off, and to fasten off, you just pick up the yarn, pull it through that stitch, and then we cut the yarn. And there's your finished 5-petal flower. You can tie the yarn ends together in the back of the flower in a square knot, or you can thread them into a yarn needle and weave them back and forth into the finished work and then cut off the ends. All of these flowers were made the same way using the same pattern. This is the flower we just finished. This flower was made the same way with only 3 chains in each loop, and it has 6 loops. This flower has 10 loops. This flower has 6 loops. This large flower was made using 2 strands of worsted weight yarn and a large crochet hook, size 9 millimeter. This flower was made using 2 strands of worsted weight yarn and a 6.5 millimeter. Here is a double flower that we formed by combining purple over the pink. Here is a 3-layer flower made by adding a white layer over the pink and the purple. And all of these flowers were made by combining and stacking the flowers that we already had here on the table.